Hey everybody, it's Miss Cole. So, this is going to be a review of Miss Marvel, Season 1, Episode 5, Time and Again. You may have noticed, I'm not wearing my glasses. And, there's nothing to do with the review, it's just, I woke up early this morning, and I'm going to be going to the Y. Do you know what it's like to try to lift weights when you're wearing glasses, and you get sweaty? I'll give you a hint. It's a pain in the ass. I think I can say ass on my channel, and it's okay. It's okay, I don't have to put that on Patreon. Actually, I guess that wasn't a really good hint. That was just me telling you. It sucks. So anyway. So I'm heading off to exercise after this. So let's go ahead and get this over with. Because this was the first episode that I actually didn't like. I didn't like this episode, guys. That was a real bummer. There were good moments in this. We'll get to them, but most of it went beyond disappointment and into, oh gosh, how can I describe it? Not just disappointment, but this sort of like confused sense of unreality. Like, who are you? And what have you done with my show creators? What have you done to this story? So we start in flashback mode again, which is okay, but I'm not here to see Aisha. I mean, she's nice, but I want to see Kamala. Thank you. Like, it's her show. I guess I did get some of what I asked for a little bit. It's not Muniba and Yusuf, but it's Aisha and the dude who I don't think ever gets named. And he's speaking out against, I think, the British government. And she's intrigued. We earlier saw her running away from a British soldier or British dude, somebody who had a gun. So there was that. Oh, and he cooks. Like, yes, score, got a limp. Doesn't really affect the story at all. Or there are a couple of references. She makes a walking stick for him. It's nice. He does recite some poetry for her. I think he writes a poem for her. It includes the line that Kamala later found on the bangle, which is what you seek is seeking you. So that comes up. But in this case, the recurring themes have felt more natural before. This one felt very heavy-handed. It wasn't clunky exactly. It didn't feel like it didn't fit, but it felt more overt, less natural. So Najma shows up and says, "We've been looking for you for years." And Aisha's just like, I totally wasn't hiding from you. And it's like, it doesn't scan. She's supposed to be like extra old, and I'm not really sure why she's that bad at being fake. Not a big deal, again, but it was like a lot of those little things that just like made me sad. So this is during partition. Honestly, I'm not sure how long that went on. Also, I'll need to look this up before watching the final episode. But I'm not clear on the connection between independence from Britain and partition. Like, I don't understand why independence had to mean partition. Like, who decided this? And why? There is a reference, the dude, who unfortunately is never given a name, says that they're burning houses down, and apparently it has something to do with those who are Muslim are having their houses burned down. So maybe that's it. And those who are, I guess Hindi are like the ones not. So it's just not clear what has led to this. We get another reference to the idea of family being a choice when he tells her, "You chose us, and that's what matters." I was really hoping for the conversation where she reveals her heritage, but it's really weak. Like, she says, "Oh, I have magic," and I think earlier in the show, somebody mentioned that, jinn is just sort of a general word for things that are like weird, supernatural, and dangerous. And so it's not like beings from that particular realm are like the source of like what in Western culture we would refer to as genies. Jinn is in their culture is actually in their language is a more general term, sort of a catch-all. So they're jinn because they're supernatural in some way. That's just sort of like saying, kind of like saying, oh, they're mutants, or oh, they're aliens. It doesn't tell you what kind of alien they are. Like, the Martian Manhunter is very different from, say, Superman. Not that that would happen, because that's a totally different media property. So as they begin heading towards the train, because they're going to leave, because the community that he is in seems to be turning against him somewhat. He mentions that, somebody brings him some food, and he's like, well, I don't want your charity. Nobody's buying my roses. And, like, he says something about, like, the house is burning. And it seems like this community that he has been with for some time is turning against him because of who he is. On the other hand, we don't see any of that. We're just kind of told that it happens, I guess. So, again, that was kind of weak. Not happy about that. And so as they're heading toward the train, we go to Kamala, who, again, we're kind of crossing over between the flashback and Kamala's immersion in that scene. And so there's another confrontation with Najma, and she accuses Aisha of betraying them, I think. And she's like, I'm going to get that bangle no matter what. She stabs Aisha because I guess she's mad. Because she's the bad guy. I don't know. It's not well supported. It feels like she's stabbing her because, they wanted a dramatic beat, and it helps to move the plot forward, and it helps to explain why she's not there with her family. Y'all should have done, you could have done a better job with that. You could have done a better job with, like, a lot of this. Anyway, that's another one they could have done a better job with. And so Kamala finds Aisha because, again, it's time for that to happen in the plot. So it's a stretch, I can accept it, but it's not well written. Not well executed. I was expecting Kamala to be the source of the stars. I was thinking that the trail of stars would be Kamala's little plasma bubbles that she would do. And that would be what led Sana to her father. But what happens is she shows her little plasma things, and she gets Sana to, step on them and introduces the idea of it and connects with Sana. And that helps Sana to not really learn, but just sort of, internally for the magic to awaken within her. And she actually is the source, her interaction with the bangles creates the trail of stars that leads her to her father. And again, connecting with that idea of what you seek is seeking you, because of course he's looking for her too. So then, whoosh, and Kamala's back in, and the veil, oh no, it's open. Not really sure how or why that happened. I guess this may be, again, a result of, in the previous episode, Najma poking the bangle. Again, it just happens. And things do happen in real life. And we don't understand why. That is not unrealistic. What's unrealistic is that, like, something strange happens for no apparent reason, and everybody's just like, oh, okay, that happened. There's just immediate acceptance. That feels inauthentic. It's like, no question of why did this happen? Why is this happening now? And even if we don't get an answer, those questions are very human. Those are very normal and natural, and just jumping over them because time, I guess, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because this episode was super, super short. They had time to do it and they just left it out. I don't know. The other thing that I was thinking of is this whole veil thing. My daughter said, why does there have to always be, some sort of world-ending conflict? Why couldn't it just be about her being a normal person who finds out that she's got this weird thing about her and dealing with her friends and her family and school while she's also trying to figure out what's going on? I'm like, my thought is it's executive meddling. She's in the MCU, and there have been a lot of stories that have, great world-ending threats. And so there was a producer or producers who said, look, this really, you need to have something in here. This can't be just character-driven. What? No. You have to have something in there that's exciting so that people will want to find out what happens next. Look, my dudes. Because I'm pretty confident that it's dudes. That the world-ending threat, that is the boring part. I don't want to know what happens next with that. I want to know what happens next with Bruno and Nadia and Kamran And the teacher who like got her name wrong for a while, and she's, said, "This is my name." Does that get better? Her relationship with her family, now that her brother's married, how does that go? Do they get a honeymoon? I don't know. Like, all of that stuff. That's the interesting part. This whole veil thing, don't care. Don't want to know. It's going to eat our dimension. Blah, 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 blah. That's like every other superhero story ever. That's the boring part. And I think they it feels like they know that, but it was like a condition of getting the show, so they had to shove it in there. And so that gets resolved in the next to last episode, in episode 5 out of 6. It's just, we're dealing with, oh no, the veil is open now, instead of in like the last episode. So that's what makes me feel like that's actually, it's just there because they were told it had to be. They're just checking off the box. We also get a cut to Muniba, who is really worried about Kamala. The cousins, she hasn't come home all night. It's the next day. Cousins don't care. They're just like, oh, what's good? She's in a strange metropolitan city, and we haven't seen her since like yesterday lunchtime-ish. It's all good. We're good. It's good. And but one of them says, well, you can just use Find My Phone. And Muniba's like, so this is spyware for parents? How am I just hearing about this? I totally want to use this for. And I'm just like, thank you. I needed that moment. That moment made this not a complete and total loss. There are a few like that. So there's this big confrontation, and the veil is opening, and one of the other Jinn is like, oh, I'm going home. And she steps forward, and then she gets turned to dust. Oh, no. And Najma's like, no, we have to, open it more. I don't remember. I really was, rolling my eyes a lot and trying to just suffer through it, to be honest. And Kamala's like, no, you can't do this. You tore my family apart, and now you're doing the same thing to your family. What about Kamran? And Najma's like, oh, yeah, Kamran. Yeah, I feel bad about that. Okay, I'll close the veil, and, I'll sacrifice my life, and I'll close the veil. That's the fastest heel face turn I've ever seen. I don't know. I don't watch that much wrestling, so, ask Steve over on his channel. Maybe there's faster, more poorly supported ones. There probably are. Let's be honest. But that one's right up there. She was a character that was interesting. And now there's lots of opportunities there that they're just gone. Oh, well. So, yeah, Najma abruptly deciding, oh, okay, I'm going to give up on this goal that I've been working on for decades or longer. I don't know, centuries. We still don't know how long they've been there. And I'm going to sacrifice my life and transfer my, powers to my son. And it's all, that it's within seconds. So then there's some really artificial feeling wrap up. The conversation between Sana and Muniba it's not completely badly written, but it feels really artificial. The whole, I couldn't see what you wanted me to see. But maybe this journey is the one we were meant to take all along. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but it was close. And they're good actors. And it still comes out as very forced and stilted, and it's not because of their performance. It's just bad dialogue. And then we get some more of it with Kamala and Red Scarf Dude. They make her say thank you for everything. And Iman Vellani delivers it in a way that sounds like every other time that it's delivered in a TV show or movie. And it doesn't sound like her. It doesn't sound like Kamala. Because it's not written effectively for Kamala. This is a story thing. I still don't remember Red Scarf Guy's name. He's got a name. But he's such a plot device. Brain is just like, okay, whatever. I guess at least he's there and he's a point of contact for if there's a new season. And he gives her the scarf. And it's like, oh, she's putting together pieces of her costume. We're going to, just this is how she gets that. And that's how she gets that. And I'm just like, it's just I saw it coming a mile off. It could have been handled well, and it wasn't. It's like this whole episode. That could have been good. But it wasn't. Overall, the dialogue is written poorly. not miserable, but just it's stilted, and it feeds the plot, not the characters that it comes from. We finally get a scene between Kamran and Bruno. And, Kamran has, we clipped to a shot of Kamran, suddenly getting this, something's going on when Najma, transfers her powers to him. I don't know if it's not clear if she knew that, just that she knew how to close the veil. It's like, oh, that's convenient. There's been no mention of it, but, she knows. Okay, I can accept that she knows. But it would have been, super easy to set that up as, before in dialogue that she knows how to close the veil, and she's not willing to do it because she wants to go home. She doesn't want to close the veil. She knows how to do that. She doesn't know how to get home, but that's what she wants to do. She knows how to close the veil, but that's not what she wants to do. It could have been so easy to let that flow a little bit more. They just didn't do it. So anyway, there is a shot of him going and getting his powers, but it's not clear that there's no reason why he would know that's what's going on. Or maybe he does. It's not included. So he shows up and he's like, Bruno, you gotta help me. You gotta find my mom, blah, blah, blah. Or no, he calls him Brian, and Bruno's like, it's Bruno. He's like, oh, I did like the apology. That was nice. All this time, I honestly thought your name was Brian, dude. Dude, sweet. The one other moment, they I mentioned the poster of Nikola Tesla, and he's like, oh, you're a car guy. That's great. And Bruno says, yeah, I have no idea why we haven't been hanging out before this. And it's just, first of all, the line is actually good. And second, his delivery of it is perfection. Cameron talks about wanting to find his mom. Bruno says, why she ditched you. I guess we skipped that part of the conversation, but okay, we'll just let it go. We're just moving on. He says, my parents aren't around either. And so immediately, this is his only reference to it. Immediately, I want to know, who's paying the utilities? What's going on with the apartment? How is this working? You're a minor. Is he emancipated? What? When did this happen? What is going on? Just throwing that in there and letting it float, it seems to be leading somewhere. But it isn't allowed to lead anywhere. I'm just just don't. Just stay focused on Kamran's mom and don't bring that in if you're not going to follow it up. Whatever. Again, bad writing. Bad writing. Specifically, the character bits. It's so weak. Additionally, something that we noticed when we thought back on it, we had the flashback of Aisha, coming to the village and finding someone and staying there and having a daughter. And if you think back to episode 2 or 3, I think episode 3, in which Kamala is helping Nadia pass out the flyers, and she talks to her mother's friends because she wants to know more about Aisha. I think it's Aisha. And they have all this gossip about her. I heard she killed a man, that she's, there's nothing. There's nothing that supports that. So again, it's an opportunity for flow to have the story connect and be more internally consistent and connected to itself. Just didn't do it. It was so focused on the plot at the expense of everything else. Oh yeah, by the way, the veil just closes when Najma decides that, I'm going to give everything up. It closes. Okay, I guess that's taken care of. So I'll be interested to see what episode 6, what the plot is. I guess we did get one shot of, did Agent Deaver come in, or does she show up in the scene? Because there's a drone that spots Kamran. He's like, we got to get out of here. Oh yeah, that was another thing. He's like, we got to get out of here. And then he throws a bolt at the drone. How does he know he can do this? We had some disagreement in my family when we talked about this, because, it's possible that this is, we're trying to get away from this. I'm like, no, that's not how that goes. If I'm running away from that, I don't wave my hand at it. If I think my hand will do something, that gesture will mean something, stop, go away. I can control it, or I can command it, or I can throw a bolt of like plasma at it, that makes sense. But just to shove my hand at it as I'm running this way, that does not make sense. So yeah, there was a lot of that. The structure felt really clunky. It was disjointed. It went back and forth. There was way too much time that was spent on the flashback for it to be as weak as it was. It just sort of, not even treaded water. There really wasn't that much activity. It was just kind of bobbing there. And then all of a sudden we get, and it stops, and I'm like, that's it?
That's the end?
So yeah. And it's like, it's only like 30 minutes. I think it was like 31 minutes and some seconds. So it's like really short. They had all kinds of opportunity to have this smoothly fit in and connect with the rest of the series. And they didn't do it. They could have developed Cameron realizing that he could do things, that something happened, and he can now do some of the same sorts of things that Kamala can. Great opportunity for more frustration from Bruno. Didn't do that. Great opportunity to show why Aisha and her family are being not forced, but why they decide to leave. You know, what's going on in their village. Why she is such a pariah. You know, some of those things. They had time. The episode could have been long. Other episodes have been longer. And they just didn't. And yeah, so it went past disappointment. But there was also like, not just that the experience of watching it was, oh, this was disappointing, but like, it had set the bar so much higher. So much higher. And then it didn't follow through on this episode. I'm really, really hoping that the last episode of this season will go back to what it's done well. We'll focus on the character development and the connections between them, the thematic development. And I'm hoping that that's why they finished up and shoved in all that bit with the veil there. They're just like, okay, that's done. We're done with that. Now we don't have to worry about it anymore. So I'm really hoping that the next episode will be back to where it should be. And maybe even better. So I'm not writing this off entirely. But I'm kind of back to where I was when I started, where I'm like, oh, please don't suck. Please don't suck. That's all for now. If you notice stuff that I missed, you know, tell me in a comment. And cross your fingers. Cross your fingers that the final episode of this season will be really, really, really good. And we can all be like, yay! Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.